He's pulled the shirt on, scored the goals. Andy Campbell on the Red.
This is the Red.
Well, mate, we're here again, talking football.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Been a good week. Great time to be a Middlesbrough fan.
Isn't it? It's Andy Campbell on your radio, on the Red, right across Teesside, on DAB, smart speaker, online, apps, also on Facebook Live, also on YouTube. I think you're owning the media waves.
Yeah, just doing the
platforms, airwaves, the whole lot. You've just got it. If you want to get your comments through to Andy, you can. Numerous ways. You can do it via Facebook Live. Just stick us a comment just over here. You'll see the finger move in a second. Give us a comment on Facebook Live. You can do it via WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp the studio 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002 to get your messages through. But you mentioned it at the start there, mate. Good time to be a Boro fan.
Great time to be a Boro fan.
What do you make of the list again?
Listen, I think your heart sometimes rules your head, and I think we were quite sensible in terms of predictions at the weekend for the weekend's game. But listen, they're a very good side. Let's take no bones about it. That they were a good side. I think they dominated the game in long periods. They dominated possession. They dominated chances created. They had one more corner than us. They had a lot more of the play. Listen, they've got Premier League players. When you've got Jamie Vardy on the bench, you've got Conor Cody on the bench, you've got Iheanacho up front, you've got Harry Winks. You've got a chance. You know what I mean? So those kind of strings in your bow, you've really got an opportunity to be successful in the Championship. But we matched them for long periods. I think the goalkeeper had one of those games where I think if Leicester played till next Saturday, they probably wouldn't score. You know what I mean? I think he was absolutely phenomenal. No, neither am I. Yep. I think he was phenomenal. But I think when you're in this kind of form, that you get a little bit of luck, and I think we probably earned that little bit of luck. And things what have gone against us this season, I think came to fruition on Saturday, and we probably just really deserved it. Because listen, with a goal like that, you want that to be a winning goal. So when you've got a player who can score a goal out of nothing, you want that to be the winning goal. And
late on as well.
Picture perfect. I just think. But no, listen. Not going to get excited because Leicester, I think, will still be in and around there. But that's 2 defeats for them. Two games without a goal and 2 defeats. So
Leeds and then Boro. Yeah. And Leeds, of course, was a huge result because that just then closed the gap on Leicester, who then slipped up against us. So it's just opening up the top of it. I think we just got to the point where I was thinking certainly one automatic promotion spot had gone because them and Ipswich were so far away. Yeah. But you just now start to question it. 2 defeats on the bounce, but they're not going to go on a long losing run, are they?
No, I don't think so. I think we're Leicester and Ipswich now on joint points on 39. I think it's important now that there's no gap. I think the closer the playoff groups can catch that gap and close that gap, I think it'll make it for a far more interesting season. Yeah. I think there's so many good sides outside the playoffs who could make a run for it. Cardiff are flying, Middlesbrough are flying, Hull City have picked up, West Brom have picked up. So there's a lot of important games. Anybody can beat anybody, and I think that's probably showing over the last few weeks that we go and lose against Stoke City at home, but then we go and beat the champions elect possibly. To beat Leicester City. So I think it's just a good time to enjoy your football and to be a Middlesbrough fan, because I think with this international break, which we've been critical of and we've been thankful of this season already, so I think time will tell if it's been a good one or a bad one by next weekend.
What do you make of the result overall? I mean, what does it say? What does it do about the Boro, for the Boro?
It shows that we can mix it with the best. It shows that we can compete with the very best, because I don't think there's been a better squad in terms of Leicester squad in the Championship for a very long time, and the way they started was no surprise. And I think my biggest surprise is that they've now lost 2 on the bounce. But for us to be able to mix it with them, with the players that we've got missing as well, by the way, the squad that we've got can fight with the very best. And I just think it's just a shame that the things didn't work out the way that everybody wanted at the start of the season, and we could have had a better start. But for me, the biggest picture is that we can keep a clean sheet against the best attacking options in the league, and we can win a football match, and we can learn how to win a football match, because we've been very critical about losing late goals or losing goals and not scoring that first goal. But we scored the first goal, we held on, and we won 1-0. So another clean sheet, another win, another goal. Sam Greenwood getting on the score sheet with a fantastic free kick. But I thought Michael's subs were were outstanding. I thought Josh did enough what he needed to do, and I also thought Matt Crooks did what he needed to do, but time was enough to bring 2 subs on, and I thought they both did very well. I thought they both changed the game in terms of made us a little bit more dynamic, give us a little bit of a different option, and it turned out to be 2 very good subs.
How surprised were you at how willing we were just to let them have possession?
Very surprised, because that's the way that Michael wants us to play. So when you've got 2 teams who want to keep the ball, it's a game of cat and mouse, isn't it? But obviously, tactics, he went in the game of letting them have the ball. And when you let a team have the ball, you've got to make sure that there's no gaps in between the lines. You've got to make sure there's no space in behind, which there wasn't at times. I think we got caught out down the sides a little bit more than we probably have done recently. But you're playing against some very good players. But you've got to be patient, and that's probably one word that he used for that display at the weekend was patient and disciplined and professional. And when you've got a manager who's been used to keeping the ball and having a lot of the ball as a player, and as a manager we've had a lot of the ball as a manager, he's obviously looked at the game as a whole and thought, we're playing against a very good side, we'll let them have it, let them hurt us, see if they can beat us. And they didn't have enough to beat us, they didn't have enough to break us down. Yes, they probably could have and maybe should have scored, but they didn't, thankfully. And we broke the deadlock and got the goal at the right time. And I think once that goal went in, they obviously tried to change it, didn't they? Brought Jamie Vardy on and tried to go for it a little bit, but for then I think it was a little bit too late.
Yeah. How much of a masterstroke was it in terms of tactics? Because that wasn't a normal Michael Carrick lineup.
No.
Well, I should say it wasn't a normal Michael Carrick type of performance.
Yeah, I think he's asked players to do a different job, and I think that's the masterstroke for me. Getting your players and working on the training ground and asking them to do a disciplined role and being in areas where they probably haven't been used to getting in different games and in the last few games. And against Plymouth, they're probably running in behind and they're running into spaces and getting a little bit more attacking, where we had to be a little bit more disciplined, let them play in front of us and looking at the ball all the time, because they don't go long. They went a little bit long, as in wide, but they don't play direct. They like to play through the middle to Harry Winks. They like to play little intricate passes to Chowdhury, and I thought we got our tactics spot on. But on the other hand, they probably could have and probably should have got the first goal. But you know what I mean. Thankfully, we held out and got a clean sheet, because that first goal was always massive. If Leicester get the first goal, they 9 times out of 10, or 9.9 times out of 10, they win the game. So I think that first goal in a Leicester game, especially with Middlesbrough, was massive. Is
it fair to say that they didn't have an off day? I don't think they played badly.
No, I think they deserved to win the game.
They were a great team. I mean, they were a better team than the Boro in terms of quality, right the way throughout.
Yeah, listen, and I didn't watch enough of the Leeds game. I seen the highlights, but I didn't want to see enough of the Leeds game to make a judgment. But for me, if that's their off day, then the season's going to be absolutely fantastic for them, you know. So I think the bigger picture, but we just need to make sure that we do what we need to do and look at maybe that kind of performance and think that if we need to do that again, we've got it in our armour. We can do it. We can be patient. We can be disciplined. We can let teams have it. But then when we win it back, we've got to hurt teams. We've got to break on them quick. You know what I mean? Because we've got pace. We've got power. We've got players who can hurt teams. And if we can do that more often, then we can have a plan B in our armour, really.
You've got one big advantage over us, which is you've pulled the boots. Is it in what is a week's build-up to take on Leicester, to take on a whole new style of playing completely alien to what you've done so far?
It's hard, because you're learning a new string to your bow. You're learning a new tactic, a new way of playing. And everyone's got to understand the role. And if one person doesn't understand the role, the whole thing falls to pieces. So everyone's got to be so disciplined. And maybe as you look at the Josh Coburn, who didn't get a lot of support to him in the first half, he probably did a lot more defending, a lot more legwork than he's been used to. Yeah. Hence why he didn't finish the game, and hence why he only played about an hour. Because he's doing a lot more donkey work, so to speak, than he probably would have done holding the ball up and running into channels. And it's just a different way of playing. And I think that's why the manager got his substitutes spot on. I think he freshened things up about the hour mark, 62, 65 minutes, and it gave us a different dimension, because by then Leicester had knocked on the door. They didn't get through, and then it was time for us to have a little probe and a little go and see what we can do and create a few more chances. And thankfully we ended up getting something from a set piece. But listen, corners, we talked about a few weeks ago about how important set pieces are. Free kicks are important. Listen, when you've got somebody who can put balls in a good area, when you've got somebody who can strike a ball like he struck it, you've got a chance.
We'll talk more and more about that strike, because it was a worldie, absolutely worldie. Just a reminder, it's Andy Campbell, former Boro striker, on the Reds, on Facebook Live, on YouTube. You can get your comments through. You can WhatsApp the studio 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. You can stick a comment on the Facebook Live page as well. That strike, I mean, I was there like the majority of the 30,000 that were there, slagging off the referee because he blew for a free kick when, we had a player wide and behind the defence. Yeah, it could have been a great advantage. Yeah. And then we all stopped moaning, and Greenwood sort of set himself up. And he'd had one about 10 minutes earlier, which he fluffed, didn't he? I think he put it straight into the wall.
Yeah, he did.
And on that one, I was thinking it'd be nice to see that tucked into the top corner, and then it went into the wall. And this one, I'm thinking, well, okay then.
Plan B.
Have a go.
Let someone else have a go.
Just have a go.
Yeah.
But what technique?
It's the way he struck it and how flat the ball went. When it left his foot, you knew when it went over the wall, it was only going in one place. And because it was hit with such pace and because he hit the ball flat, it didn't just dip at all. It just went straight and it was only going in one place. And you don't mean to see the panic in the goalkeeper's eyes the way he dived in the back of his net. He didn't just dive to get the ball. He dived in the back of the net to try and keep the ball out, and it was a phenomenal strike. And I found it interesting that he's just scored one of the best goals he'd probably ever scored in his career, and he's just shrugged it off his shoulders that he scores it every day, which is just the arrogance of a footballer, which is great. And I'd like to see it more. You know what I mean? If he's got that string to his bow, I think I'd like to see those things happen more, because listen, David Beckham made a living out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It caused problems for teams. Teams used to look for free kicks and play for free kicks, and if you've got somebody who can do that from a dead ball situation, that's wide and whipping it in for a cross, or somebody who can shoot from those kind of angles. We've got a player now on our hands if you can do that regular. Yeah,
absolutely. And it just reminded me, probably well before your time, mate, but it reminded me of the Boro Cup final video. When they did the Chris Rea Let's Dance with Bob Mortimer, and that free kick you see of Janino curling one in the top corner wasn't Janino. I mean, the story behind it was Janino had 4 or 5 goals, couldn't get it where he wanted. Higgy was with him, and Higgy went, "I'll show you how it's done." And the first one he made contact with flew in the top corner. So they cut the video, so they showed you that Janino coming
shooting.
up, hitting the ball, and then they cut to Higgy's flying in the top corner.
Higgy's technique was outrageous. You know what I mean? We talk about Janino being a world-class player. Higgy's technique was phenomenal.
It was good, was it?
Phenomenal. Yeah. Technically, listen, he learned from the best, didn't he? Any player who came through Crewe, Alexandra at the time, was a top player. You know what I mean? They had some Danny Murphy, brilliant free kick taker. Rob Jones, Liverpool, free kick taker. You know what I mean? They've must be something in the water.
Great talent came through there.
Oh, they did at the time. Dario Gradi. He had some top players.
Rob's stuck a message down. Good to see you, lads. I hate these international breaks. What do you make of international breaks, mate? Does it give you a chance just to go, I don't have to watch football for a week or two?
No, I hate them, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of international football, especially when they don't mean anything, and we're coming towards the end of qualifiers where we've already qualified and things, and there's nothing really at stake, or you're playing a Malta, you know what I mean, where it doesn't really mean anything. You're going to win the game, and it doesn't really matter who you play. And I think with how well we're doing, and you want to keep on that train, don't you? You want to keep on that success and keep it ticking over, where it can have a negative impact on us, for the next game when you play Bristol City. It gives them a chance to work on things. They've just obviously lost the manager, so they're regrouping again. So sometimes you just want to keep that momentum. But at the same time, it gives players a chance to regroup, refresh, and go again. Because listen, it's a long season. We've now got a cluster of games up towards Christmas. And it gives the boys a chance to get together, to have an understanding and build on what they've done. Because listen, all this hard work is come on the training pitch. It's come on that, it's come by them, and they'll learn even more on the training pitch, and they'll learn even more going forward. Because we talk about we had a week to work on the tactics for the Leicester game, less than a week. We've now got a little bit longer to work on things for Bristol City. So it's let's see what it brings. But for me, the most important part of it is just get players back fit, flying, and ready to go again. Yeah,
we've got a couple of longer term injuries, and a couple of those we're not quite sure when they're going to come back. So let's hope the 2-week break's going to do a bit of good in that respect. But what about Bristol City? Because they've got a couple of weeks now to prepare for playing Boro. But they'll have seen Boro against Leicester, a completely different style of play. Does that make it harder for them? Because everybody expects us to hold the ball, pass it around, have possession, keep the ball moving quickly. That's how we play. We didn't against Leicester. Does that just create a few question marks in the back of the minds of City?
I think their tactics has got to be now a little bit messed up because are they going to keep the ball? Are they going to let us have the ball? You know what I mean? Are we going to go in a different direction again? Are we going to stay with the same tactics and hit them on the break? Are we going to go for the jugular like we have done in previous games when we've gone to the likes of the Plymouths, etc. But listen, whatever Michael goes with, it's a tactics which he's going to win a football match, and I think it makes it more complicated for a team like Bristol City, because obviously they haven't been in great form, been hit and miss, proper championship side. I think, win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, and I think teams are looking for a little bit more consistency now. But they have got players who can hurt us. They've got Andreas Weimann up front, who's very good football. Obviously, he's playing the Premier League at Aston Villa, and he scored goals at this level, and you can't give these kind of players opportunities, but they are susceptible to let goals in at the back as well, though. So I think the way that we're attacking, I think there'll certainly be opportunities in the game for us to exploit and hurt them. But will we go and hurt them and keep the ball and try and dictate play, or will we let them have it and hit them on the break? Because we've got those players who can do that as well. But it'll be brilliant to see what he does. It's like a game of chess.
It is, isn't it? And you mentioned the manager situation. So they have had a change in management. So I suppose there is that little incentive for them as well to put in a decent display to start staking their claim for a place in the first 11. Yeah,
listen, it would have been a little bit more interesting with Nigel Pearson and Curtis Fleming being there, because obviously the Middlesbrough connection and things, but when you've got a new manager coming in, you always start with a little bit of freshness, a little bit more exposure in yourself, and you try to nail down that opportunity in those minutes in the tank. And but that can be dangerous for a team to start playing them. But hopefully we understand the situation, and we go there with we'll go there with confidence. Players will have gone from international break as well and potentially done well because they're playing for the countries. And those who've stayed here will be confident from the week that they've had back out on the back of the Leicester game.
Yeah. A couple of comments coming in, David. Good tactical battle. He's talking Boro Leicester between both teams, trying to play the same way out from the back. Both teams not at their best, but a really good spectacle as a battle. Yeah. Matthew, Boro's off the ball play has improved so much over the last 10 games, and it's nice to see us not leaking so many goals. That has been an improvement. I don't know if you've spotted that. I mean, it's almost smacked me in the face. It's like, hang on a minute, we're not conceding as many goals now. Yeah,
100%. Listen, we've scored 23 goals this season in the league, and we've let 23 goals in. And in the first 9-10 games with the majority of those goals. So it shows how many improvements we've made. Yeah. I thought the goalkeeper on the weekend was outstanding. I thought the back four, I thought Dale Fry's growing with his, I keep calling him his youthful experience, but he's a Middlesbrough-born player who's come through the ranks. He is still youthful, but he's got that experience now where he's a player who can handle the big players. When you've got the Jamie Vardy's coming on, you've got the Iheanachos, and you've got other players, McAteer from on loan from Man City, who can hurt you. These are good footballers. I mean, they've gone and got a dream team to try and get them promoted back to the Premier League, and we matched them, and we give them a little bit of a different taste of what they're expecting, because I think they probably expected us to go toe-to-toe with them and keep the ball and have a 50-50 base possession game, but we let them have it. We let them dictate play and let them hurt us, and fortunately, or unfortunately, depends how we look at it. If you're a Leicester fan, it's unfortunate we didn't hurt us, but fortunately for us, we had too much strength and in depth at the back and in the midfield areas. They had to go around the back and to create their chances, and they didn't really do enough to get that first goal.
From an individual performance perspective, who caught the eye for the Boro?
Listen, the goalkeeper I thought for me was outstanding. I thought he was
3 great saves.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant, and I thought Dale as well. I think when you've got to keep your confidence, you've got to keep your composure in big moments. And listen, when the goalkeeper's pulling you out the muck every now and again, I think it's you realise that you've got to stand up as a player and protect him. Because he hasn't been protected this season. I've just named 23 goals this season. That's not protecting your goalkeeper. Because we should be doing a lot better. We haven't kept enough clean sheets, but I think when Dale's on his point in his game, there's no better defender. And because he's a local boy, and you've got your Hayden in front of him who tries to dictate game. You know what I mean? I thought it was quite a pivotal battle between him and Harry Winks, because Harry's obviously a player who's played at the top level. He's played for his country. He's played at Spurs. He's played overseas in Italy. So you know what I mean? For a young player to gain experience playing against a player of that calibre. Listen, he'll have learnt so much, because Harry's one of those players who just floats around the pitch and keeps the ball as neat and tidy, and he can damage you if you give him time. But players didn't give him time, and players did a really good professional job. And normally you see the manager bringing on the 5 subs, but it didn't happen. He brought 2 subs on.
Yep.
Obviously, he brought Dijksteel on right at the end to probably combat the Jamie Vardy sub, but I think by then it was game over. I didn't think they were ever going to hurt us.
Yeah. David's been back on Van der Berg. Brilliant. Versus Leicester.
Yeah.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He's outstanding. I think
he's
that
a little bit out of position as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and they're 2 wide players. McAteer especially. He's on loan from Man City. Good player. I think they rate him really highly. I think that's why they got rid of Cole Palmer to Chelsea. So I think they rate him really highly, and I think they potentially want him back next year. So when you've got a player of that calibre, but for me, he's a potential international player, Van der Berg. You know what I mean? So he's going to have the experience to go back to play. He's done it through the youth ranks, the under 2021 level. So he'll get those opportunities to play for his country if he continues to develop as a defender, because he's got all the attributes. He's got pace. He's got power. When you've got those kind of attributes, you've got one step ahead of a winger, because wingers don't like the tackle, don't like all that getting stuck in. You know what I mean? They've got to try and beat you, and when you've got the attributes that he's got, he's outstanding.
It's Andy Campbell, former Boro striker. Pulled the boots on many times. I'm just trying to think back when what year did you make your debut?
96.
96.
96.
I was just wondering whether you'd pulled the boots on at Ayrsham or not.
No. That was my first year at the Riverside. So the first season at Riverside,
that was your first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to put a comment to him, you can via WhatsApp into the radio studio 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002, or via Facebook Live, as many are. Get your comments in. We're just chewing the cud, all things Boro and football, and I keep having to do this. I think there's a cold coming on. I do apologise. We've got a couple of weeks off now. A chance for a couple of injuries to heal. Then obviously it's a real heavy slog through games.
Yeah.
We talked Bristol City.
Yeah.
But we do have the likes of Leeds coming to town. We've got West Brom to face, Hull. They're all up there and around us. Is this the defining time of the season now? We've started with Leicester with 3 points, which is not a bad bloody way to start, is it? Is this a bit of a defining way to this part of the season?
Yeah, 100%. For me, November, December, going into January is the most defining part.
Because we normally say Christmas, New Year, don't we?
Yeah, because all the games come thick and fast. You can pick up some points at a close period, because you've got, I think Christmas, you've got so many games in a 12-day period. So if you can pick some points up and get in and around that, we've got the squad to manage these kind of games. We've got Bristol City, Preston, then we go to Leeds, Ipswich at home, Hull at home, Swansea away. So all those sides are in and around the playoffs currently.
West Brom just after the Port Vale Cup game.
After the Port Vale Cup game. So
this is all before Christmas.
Yeah, these are all before Christmas. And then listen, I don't want to look too far after that, but then after that you're playing the bottom 5.
You're playing
in 5
Rotherhams
consecutive
like
seasons. Huddersfield, the Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. So if you can get in and around the mix at Christmas and then after New Year, the season could be really, really interesting, because these games are going to be difficult, but they're going to be difficult for them as well, because Bristol City, you're going to go into the game thinking Middlesbrough just beat Leicester on a great run of games. You play Preston at home. Leeds doesn't need any...
Do you know it was 19 successive away victories for Leicester City in their championship games, their recent championship games. 19. I mean, you've got to go back beyond the Premier League season as well, seasons. But for them in that league, it was 19 successive away wins. Yeah, and they came to the
fabulous record, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, someone's going to have to break that record, and it's great for us, because you get remembered for those things, and I think the more we can make the Riverside a fortress and we can pick results up here, we will nick points away. We will nick 3 points away, because we've got goals. The way that we play, we can dictate games away from home, and you know what I mean. For me, it's the next 5, isn't it? The next 5 is massive. Bristol, Preston, Leeds, Ipswich, and Hull. Are phenomenal games. The games that all the boys will want to play in. You know what I mean. The manager obviously seems to be quite strict in terms of his team selection and the way that he wants his teams to play.
Yeah.
Apart from the odd googly that threw in like Saturday, but I think the Leeds game will be an interesting one, 'cause it always is. It doesn't need any introducing at all, but just Bristol City game first and see where we go.
And that's what you got to... Yeah,
it's one game at a time.
As much as it sounds the old manager's cliche, it's got to be one game at a time.
Yeah, I think we get excited, don't we? As fans, we want to see where this journey is going to take us now. We want to see how many games we can win. We want to see how many points we can get on the board before Christmas, and see where we are, because listen, we're a stone's throw away from the playoffs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're what, 15 points off the top. You know what I mean? We've just beaten them. You know what I mean? Are they on a bad run that we're gonna claw points back, and other teams are gonna claw points back? Who knows? But the only way to claw that back is by winning football matches.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna win games. They might lose games, and they probably will lose games. But we need to make sure that when they do lose, that we pick those points up to catch them up, because there's no point us dropping points and them dropping points, because there's no points gained.
And we've got Ipswich and Leeds still to play, so it's in our own hands if we want to do that. But hell, what a run that's going to have to be to pull those results back. Yeah. You can get in touch in a lot of ways. You can send us your comments on Facebook Live. You could WhatsApp us in the studio. You can even call us on WhatsApp. Rob's on the line. Rob, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, lads?
All good, I think. What's your comment, mate?
So I've been thinking the last few days, is the games we've lost at the beginning of the season going to bite us at the end of the season? Last season, Burnley went up with only 3 losses, and Luton went up with 8. We've already got 6, and we're not even a third of the way through. Is it going to bite us?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great question.
It is.
Rob, brilliant question. I think, listen, I've just spoke about the amount of goals that we've let in. You know what I mean? Bristol City below us have let 16 in. Yes, they've only scored 16, but the games that we've lost, we've not clawed back enough goals. We've obviously let too many in. Obviously, we've dropped a lot of points, 19 points, which, you know what I mean, it puts us potentially right to the top of the league. You pick 6 more points up in the league right now, it puts us to 30, which puts us joint with 4th with Southampton. You know what I mean? That's just 2 wins. You know, and the games that we've lost to start the season, even the Sheffield Wednesday game, which we drew, which was one of the worst performances I think Middlesbrough have ever put out on a football pitch. It just shows that if we hadn't have had the start that we had, where could this journey be currently? I do severely hope that when it comes to the end of the season, we aren't 1 point out of the playoffs, 1 point out of automatic promotion, and it comes to bite us on the backside, because this could have a massive hindrance on where we want to be. You can't afford to start seasons slow. You know what I mean? That it was that recruitment, because the players who we brought in were good footballers. Of course, the Arcus has shown that now, but were they ready at the time? I don't think they were. You know what I mean? They weren't ready fitness wise. They weren't ready, probably suited for moving into the area, the mentality. But now they've had time to bed in and settle in. They look very good footballers, and obviously they fit the mould of what the manager wants. But recruitment then's got to probably get looked at in terms of do this earlier. Do this in the summer. Do this end of the season. Let them bed in during the summer. Find houses. Settle down. Do pre-season with the boys. You know what I mean? Because I think pre-season was a struggle. You look at some of the games we had. I think we get beat by Hartlepool. We draw with York. You know what I mean? We didn't have a great pre-season. So has the pre-season impacted on going into the start of the season, because we weren't full of confidence, and we didn't have maybe the players what the manager wanted. We'd lost a lot of players, like which we spoke about previously, and bringing in the players that he maybe wanted or didn't want, but they weren't ready to play straight away, had a huge impact, because he didn't have a settled team. Yeah. For those amount of times, he's probably settled it the last 6, 7, 8, 9 games, and it's obviously had a massive impact so far. But I'm hoping that it doesn't come back to bite us on the backside.
Is it something that concerns you, Rob? The amount of points dropped at that initial 7 games.
Yeah, it seems as though we've got all our losses out the way on the bounce, to be honest. It just feels a bit awkward to leave the rest of the season where we don't have many losses. I don't know if I can see us going all the way at the end of the season, only losing like 3 or 4, to be honest.
Well, we spoke about this, Rob, didn't we? We spoke a couple of weeks ago, I think it was before the Stoke game, that there's going to be a game, or 2, or 3, or maybe it's 4, that you're going to lose this season. And can we afford to do that? Can we afford to lose those games? Can we afford to take that risk? Because, like you say, you lose 4 more games, then must be a record. If a team gets promoted with the amount of defeats that we're going to end up having, that would take some effort to get us over the line for the rest of the season.
I do think because of that run at the start of the season, our focus must be playoffs. I think we've lost too many points.
I totally agree.
I think to get into the automatic promotion places.
I think that's 100%. I look at Ipswich and I look at Leicester and I look at Leeds, and I think, will those teams lose more games than Middlesbrough this season? Will they lose more than we've lost already? Yeah. I can't see them losing more than we've lost. No. And if they don't lose more than we've lost, then we can't catch them, really.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And that's without us losing again, because like I've just said there, if we don't if Ipswich, if we don't beat Ipswich, then we haven't caught any we haven't closed the gap. If we don't beat Leeds, we haven't closed the gap. If we don't win when those teams lose, then the gap just keeps on increasing. So we never close that gap. It's one of those things that, you know what I mean. It's such a pivotal time we're in November. We're touching in December in a couple of weeks. That these aren't must-win games, but if you've got aspirations to get promoted, you can't lose any more football matches. It's just the life of being a top player in a top division.
The old supercomputer has done an update. It had us down as 16th, finishing 16th because of that start to the season. It's done an update over the last couple of days. It has us finishing 3rd now because of the current run of form, comparing it with other teams. I don't know how it does its calculations, but Rob, 3rd place, is that within our grasp? That would mean jumping Leeds or Ipswich, wouldn't it?
Yep.
I think playoffs are in our grasp, but it'd have to be a low points tally for us to hit 3rd, I think.
All right.
Don't want to sound negative.
Would it be a bad thing though, Rob? Because I look at 3rd as quite a negative, because if you're 3rd, then you've lost out on coming 2nd. The team who finishes 3rd doesn't notoriously normally go up, because there's always teams who are going into that more confident. 6th is normally the team who comes into the playoffs flying, confident, playing well. 3rd place worries me.
But,
yeah, it does me as well.
But this 3rd place this season, would that be a bad thing if we finish 3rd? Because we had a horrendous start. We're not expecting automatic promotion. It's not as if we've just slipped up.
Listen, if somebody offered me 3rd place in September, I'd have snapped someone's hand off.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that now we're getting spoke about in those kind of reams and that kind of placement in the league, which is fantastic. I just wish that we'd picked up 3, 6, 7, 9 points along the way now, and we'd be in such a better position. Leicester would be shaking in the boots. Leeds would be looking over the shoulder when we played them, and it would be such a different picture.
Well, I'm just thanks for the call, Rob. Appreciate that. You can call us on WhatsApp 0330 043 2002. Also, get your messages into the radio station studio on the same number 0330 043 2002. And we keep repeating, it's WhatsApp. WhatsApp calls, WhatsApp messages. We still get people using conventional phones and calling it. It doesn't get through. I'm just looking at the league table now. So there's the Boro, 6 defeats, 7 victories, 3 draws, 6 defeats, 24 points. There was effectively 19, 20 points that went begging at the start of the season in that horrible 7-game run. You know, even if we'd have had 10 points out of that. I'm just looking
puts
there.
Us 34, puts us above Leeds.
34, so puts us above Leeds.
Puts us above Leeds. And I think, you know, I mean, put 6 points on top of it. It puts us 1 point behind Leeds, above Southampton. So that's 2 wins. It's turning the Sheffield Wednesday one into a victory, which would have been possible if it had turned up.
Yeah.
The QPR game, which I think nobody in the whole football world would have expected us to lose at home to them. And you know what I mean. There's so many games that we look back on that we've, you know what I mean. The Plymouth game we could have turned into 3 from 1. You know what I mean? There's so many games that I don't want to look back on at the end of the season.
Even Stoke City. I mean, Stoke City came and did a number on us, but only because we allowed them to.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'd hate to look back at the season and think, how have we not got where we needed to be because of this game. But there's too many of these games that we're talking about now. So it's, if we don't go up, league tables don't lie. You know, I know that's quite famous of a.
No, they don't. But I've got to ask:
manager says that.
Is this a different Boro? I'm not thinking personnel changes, but. Is this now a different Boro squad to what it was during those 7 games? Because remember, towards the end of them, Carrick came out and said, I need a reset here. I need to change a lot of things here. Do you see them? Have they changed?
Oh, 100%. It's like a different team. I think even the players look like different players. You know what I mean? We can use Engel as a prime example. You know, we've got a lad who for me, and I'll go on about the Sheffield Wednesday game, he got brought off at half-time. He looked like a lost soul. He looked like that was his final game for Middlesbrough. And the performance levels now he's putting in. You've got Van der Berg who wasn't in. He's been in and out. He wasn't getting opportunities. He's getting opportunities. You've got Matt Crooks who was out the side and now he's in the side. You've got now Spine of the team, which is consistent. You know what I mean? You've got Josh Coburn now who wasn't anywhere near the team at the start of the season. So
he's like a big battering ram up front, isn't
he?
He mixes it and gets stuck in physically.
You've got Latte Lath who started the season after the first couple of games, and he just looked a little bit lost. He wasn't scoring the goals. He was getting a few chances, but didn't have the composure and the confidence. He's coming on now, and he looks like a different player. He's confident. The manager's been using the low market. He's got Sam Greenwood from Leeds United. Obviously O'Brien. Obviously disappointing there. But these players who've got injuries, your Lenahans, your O'Briens, your McClarks, you know what I mean? The McGrees.
Yep.
These players are going to come back in January, around that time, January, February time, if not earlier.
Yep.
These will be like new signings. These will make us even better, even stronger. You know what I mean? So if we can be in touching distance and fighting distance with these top sides, with the whatever else the manager thinks that we need and the recruitment team that we need, I'll tell you what, we're going to have some squad by the time that January comes around.
So what's the goal between now and January when those new signings come in? Is it just to try and gather as many points as we can?
Yeah.
Not get carried away. It's not give yourself grandiose dreams of climbing the table and getting into third spot.
No, we don't need to be fourth tomorrow. We don't need to be fifth or sixth tomorrow. We don't need to be in the playoffs now. You know what I mean? We need to be in the playoffs, in and around the playoffs when it's the important time. You know what I mean? Listen, I'd love to be in the playoffs now. I know I'm probably saying I'm going against the grain what I'm saying, but I think we just need to be in touching distance for the start we've had and the players that we've had and the players who are performing now to the levels that they are playing on. We just need to be in touching distance, and if that's closing the gap, fantastic. If that's us blowing teams away and we're flying, fantastic. But what we can't afford to do is lose composure now, and like Rob said, lose any more games. We lose 1, 2, 3 on the bounce. That takes us to 9 defeats. It looks a little bit of a disaster again. It could be a dead rubber Christmas time, dead rubber towards the end of the season, and the season fizzles out a little bit because will the chairman put his hand in his pocket if we're 14th, 15th, 16th in the league? Probably not. You know, I mean, the manager will want the chairman to take a risk in January, and I believe the manager will get his wish if we're in and around those areas that the chairman thinks that we'll be in a chance to get promoted, which is obviously via the playoffs in my opinion. So hopefully that wish list and this Christmas list comes thick and fast, but we need the points and where we are in the league. I think where we are in the league currently 10th is a good position.
Yeah, so we're just a couple of points away from the playoffs. Yeah,
good position. And
not
obviously I've said there we play Bristol City, who are 11th. We play Hull over that time. We play West Brom. We play Preston. We play Leeds. So every team is either one place below us or just above us. Yeah. So these games over the next 4 or 5 weeks are huge in terms of probably not winning, but don't lose. Don't lose those games. Don't let them make the gap bigger. Yeah. Just make sure that we can close the gap if needs be, or make sure that the gap stays exactly the same as it is.
For those listening on the Red Radio Cross Teesside, it is the voice of Andy Campbell, former Boro striker. You can get your comments through into the studio 0330 043 2002. That's the WhatsApp number. 0330 043 2002. Or you can send. You can put your messages through on Facebook Live. One on WhatsApp. Oh, hang on, there's a couple already coming on WhatsApp. Stu says, "Are there any players in the current squad that are Premier League quality?"
I think only time will tell, Stu. In my opinion, I don't think we can. Listen, I'd like to think that Hayden Hackney could be dropped into a Premier League side and could hold his own the way that he plays. He's tenacious. He keeps the ball. He's young. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. Could Josh go and play up front for a side? Well, of course he could. Would he be good enough? Would he score goals? Listen, he's going to be playing. And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody here, but if you're playing in a Premier League in a Premier League team, in a Premier League squad, you're playing with better footballers. So already you're going to become a better footballer. So I believe that I don't think the gap's as big as what people think. You know, you look at the Sheffield Uniteds, the Burnleys. I won't probably put Luton in that category because Luton, you know, I mean, the size of the club and the gap of the players, the journey that they've been on is a little bit different to probably the Burnleys of this world. And you know, I mean, the gap of the bottom of the Premier League is not as big a jump from the top of the Championship. You know what I mean? We're not talking Man City. You know what I mean? Are any of our players good enough to go Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham? No, in my opinion, no. Of course they're not. But are they good enough to go and mix it in the bottom half? Crystal Palace, Burnley, Sheffield United, etc.
Are they good enough to stay in a Boro team that gets promoted?
I think they all deserve an opportunity if we did get promoted. I think it'd be a travesty for the players not to be given a chance. But that's the manager's decision to do what he does.
That's the tough part, isn't it?
Look at Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest got promoted 2 years ago in the playoff final. The day that they got promoted, the manager decided that he was going to push every single player who played that Premier League final, as a playoff final, out the club, apart from one, the club captain, and no one else has played apart from that one player. So they brought in 60 professionals into that club. It's a vast amount of players, probably too many, but the models worked because they kept him in the Premier League, and they now look like a solid Premier League team. So for me, as long as the club stays in the Premier League when we get there, I'm all for it. I don't care what team we put out. You know what I mean? We've all got our favourite players, but for me, the team's bigger than any player.
Comment coming in on WhatsApp. Papers in Leeds today questioning the decision to loan out Greenwood, and massively questioning the 1.5 million fee that Boro could pay to sign him permanently. What do you think about that? Should we snap him up?
If we haven't already, I think it's madness if they haven't. And if they haven't, then I think they need to do it. Because for me, you don't get a player in 2023 for less than 1.5 million. You know what I mean? There's no way. You know what I mean? Wages won't be a problem, I don't believe, for a club of our size. When you score goals, and when players score goals, and when your team's struggling, players, fans and the media start looking at the negatives and why we let him go. He should be playing in this team, and you know, I mean, Leeds aren't doing badly themselves. I don't know if there's a clause in the contract which stops him playing against Leeds.
Don't know.
That'll be an interesting one. I presume he won't play. I presume that they must have. If they haven't, then happy days. But I presume he won't be able to play. But listen, I think we've got a real bargain and a real opportunity to get him in, because we've had this model of bringing loan players in over the last couple of seasons, and it's I think it's come back to bite us on the backside, and especially this start of the season. You know, Rob talking there about the start of the season. It's because we lost loan players and they went to their parent clubs or went elsewhere, and they left us with void stuff to fill. Yeah. This year we filled those voids with players, signed them on long-term contracts, 3-4 year deals, all similar ages. So the future's bright. You know what I mean? Yes, we can move a couple of loan players and it won't have an impact. But for me, I would go and sign Sam on a full-time contract and help him push himself and push us to where we want to be and where he wants to be, because he's a Premier League footballer.
So we're seeing a player at the moment who's on loan, who's got a price tag of 1.5 million. But we're seeing a player perform for the Boro who I think everybody, barring their dog, would turn around and say is worth more than 1.5 million. Does that mean he's been given an opportunity and he's grasped it? Or does that mean Leeds United have not seen the true potential in him? Or both?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's probably seen the full potential of him, because he's never played and never been given that opportunity to play. And I think if Leeds had played him more, his valuation would have been a lot more, if not double, if not more. You know what I mean? But when these kind of deals are struck, the price tag is agreed on basically on the original sale. So you know what I mean, if Middlesbrough wanted to make the permanent, then the deal's already been struck, and regardless if he scored no goals or 15 goals, you know what I mean, it's 1.5 million. And if that is the deal and that's right, for me, go and get it done. Get it done now, because
Get
it done now because for me,
there's no hurry, is there?
There's I don't know if January, if there's a clause that he can go somewhere else, because listen, he's a player who looks like he's enjoying playing here. He looks like he's enjoying playing for the manager. He seems to have a knack of scoring big goals in big games, and that's a skill in itself. You know, I was quite lucky that every time I did score, which wasn't as often as I wanted to, but I scored.
You scored a few, mate.
I scored big games in big against big clubs, and Sam scored some big goals. Sunderland and Leicester, just to name two. You know, so I think he's getting a reputation for that, and sometimes you just have that knack of doing it, and if that can continue, the big goals in the big games at the right time, it will be a fabulous signing for Middlesbrough Football Club.
Well, it is an international week, so not an awful lot of football for us to look ahead to. We've done our best over the next handful of weeks. Yeah, but next week it'll be ready to pull the boots back on, getting back into action. The focus will be firmly on Bristol City. I'm trying to think whether it's a happy hunting ground. Have you played there? Ashton Gate,
I've not had some great games there. We had a bit of rivalry when I went as a Cardiff player with the England-Wales rivalry, so that was interesting.
And just across the River Severn as well, aren't
just the bridge,
Severn Estuary, Yep. All right then, well, we'll look forward to that one. Thanks for your time, mate.
My pleasure.
For this one, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody.
Andy Campbell and Cam's Red Army on the Reds, on the radio, on Facebook Live and on YouTube. We'll catch you next week.